Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Point and Click. I am Adam Razak.
And I am Jordan C. Johnson.
And today we are going to be discussing Season 2, Episode 2 of The Walking Dead, titled A House Divided.
Yes, indeed.
Which is a fantastic episode. I'll just say that right off the bat.
Oh, I hated it. I hated it.
Really?
Terrible. No, I'm kidding. It's not terrible at all. I'll save my just how highly I would rate this one until the end. But
Okay.
I agree with you. This was a fantastic episode.
I guess to start chronologically. So if I recall, you ended up going with Nick at the end of the last episode.
Yes. Okay, and I have a question about that.
Okay.
If you save Pete, what does he do? How does this episode play out?
So you go into this, I think it's either a trailer or a shed in the middle of the woods to hide out from the zombies and spend the night out there.
So that's the same.
And he gets the idea to like saw his leg off like Lee did in the first episode.
Okay.
Which he doesn't go with. He just ends up, you can either decide to like let him stall for time, or you can just like try to put up a fight, but he'll just end up sending you away anyway.
I guess
to
the biggest
prevent
question
the
I
zombies
have
from killing you.
is what happens with Matthew?
With Matthew, it's the same thing, I believe. I think it's the same thing because if I remember correctly, the very first time I ever played this, I went with Nick as well.
Right.
And I think the exact same thing happens no matter what.
So somebody just shoots Matthew.
Yeah, it's always going to be Nick, no matter what.
So Nick doesn't die.
No, you can have it where Nick can survive depending on what you do throughout this episode.
Interesting. Okay, I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Which is, the moment I realized that, like, you could just kill him off right here rather than surviving for another couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. This is going to be something really interesting.
Okay. All right. Wow. Yeah, I totally did not realize he could live. I just assumed he died.
Granted, he has a limited role in the next couple of episodes, but he's still there. Like, he'll still talk, and he's still, a presence. But it's not as like lengthy as or substantial as somebody like who can survive, like Rebecca or Lucas.
Now that leads me to another question: is Nick alive for you at the end of this episode?
No, he is not.
Okay, but he can be.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. I feel like there are more options here than I realized.
They're very. This is one of the things I love about season 2. For better and for worse, and one specific like worse that we'll cover in a later episode. Some of the decisions you make that you don't even really realize at the time will definitely have like big consequences later on. Which I think for me, that's what I think is really missing in most of the Telltale games now. Mm-hmm. Where I think this, for me, like this whole series is where they peaked in terms of how, because to me, like when I interact with these characters, a lot of the time in like past Telltale series, even like some of the ones most of the ones that I really like, they tend to feel more like living choice prompts. Like sometimes, like some of the worst ones end up feeling just like an A or B, a character that is just there to have an A or B choice. Right. But I think most of the time in this series, and in this episode in particular, I really felt like I was interacting with like full-bodied, like blooded characters, which makes it more interesting to like navigate around like who lives and who dies. And for me, that amps up the tension that can bring for the potential consequences later on.
Definitely.
I guess definitely with Nick, and I don't even really like Nick as a character. I mean, I understand I understand his actions, I understand like his characterization, but for me, I don't personally find him that appealing of a character.
Yeah.
But I think that's okay considering like his arc and what can happen with it. I think is really interesting.
Now, are you referring to his arc like if he lives?
Both.
Okay.
In a sense, like I think I like with like for me and like I think in the last episode I called him like the Ben of this series, which
Yes.
I kind of like backtrack on because I think Ben is just a moron,
See,
and I think Nick does like fuck up, but in a way to me seems rather realistic.
Wow.
He's just somebody that can't he doesn't know like what he's doing, and he just makes really rash decisions.
Okay, see, this is interesting because I went the complete opposite way. During this episode, the second the Matthew thing happened, I was done. Like, he was so much worse than Ben ever was for me.
Wow.
And I totally agree with you that he became the Ben, but I think 100 times worse. And that is my single source of criticism about this episode. I don't know how far we want to jump ahead here, but I think...
No, go ahead.
Okay, well, I will say I think this whole episode is very strong. I think before we jump to that, because I feel like we're going to skip so much if I jump to this already, but I think we should probably start with Carver's introduction.
Yes.
So,
hell yes.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Or actually, even before that, you said previously that you have a problem with what's her name, the girl. What the hell's her name?
Sarah?
Yes. Okay, so you have a problem with Sarah. So what exactly is it that bothers you about Sarah, like in this episode specifically?
I don't like, and that's actually something I was going to bring up later. I don't think Sarah is particularly bad in this episode.
Okay.
It's more like the first one that I have a problem with. The first and fourth one that I have a problem with, not only just her, but how Telltale concludes her story and how her story goes. But I think here, to me, it's more interesting because, like I said about like Carver or Walter or Nick, they feel more like realistic characters to me. Where like this person, like when she is on her own and she doesn't have her dad, which you mentioned, like the dad is what makes you angry about regarding Sarah's
which I
case.
still think I still agree.
And I tend to agree. Like after this episode, because
Right,
it reminded me a
it's
lot
not her
of like
fault.
what.
It's not her fault
No.
that she's a kid because her dad's sheltering her.
Yeah. Well, and also it doesn't help that she's like so naive, like from the influence from her father to the point where she takes that photograph and Carver can potentially find that photograph, and that's like, oh god. And I didn't get like angry at Sarah for that. I got angry at the fact that she's being raised like this, to have this like naive, still wanting to like hang on to this naive childlike personality, and I'm like, that's gonna get you fucking killed.
And this is one of the things where again, I think what makes this episode so strong is it feels loaded with genuinely sort of complex decisions and subtle ways, and genuine tension and unpredictability and actually complicated dynamics between the characters and the relationships and how you affect them and how you feel about everyone and how they feel about you. I think this series for me is where Telltale best accomplished this. And I think so. Like with Sarah, I'm kind of two minds because on the one hand, it's like subjectively, I disagree with the way her father is raising her, and I hate that he's doing it, and I feel like it's going to kill her, and it makes me angry at him and frustrated for her. And at the same time, I also do understand that I'm also not her parent, and it's not really my place to make that decision, even if I feel like it's the right thing to do for her own sake. But it's like awkward because she is a kid and she does have a father, and that is his job. And like this is like a real world situation. You know what I mean? Like this is something that actually happens. Like I have a little brother who's way younger than I am. He's like I don't know if he's like 6 or he might be younger. I don't know. I'm terrible with age. But like I kind of have to like watch the way my mom raises him. And it's so frustrating because I can, like, as an adult, I can see all the things that she's doing that I feel like impacted me negatively, and I can see all the things that she's doing that I feel like are going to seriously, like, cripple his ability to function normally in society. And like there's nothing I can do about it because like it's not that it's not my place, but it's just like I'm powerless to do anything about this. I'm not going to be with him all the time. I feel uncomfortable like with her right there saying something. Like I don't know, the whole situation is very awkward, and as I was playing this I thought about that, and I think that's a testament to how strong the writing is in this episode, because it does really it really feels like it puts you into those shoes, and you really have to kind of sort through those conflicting feelings.
I think there's a really interesting through line with how you can potentially play as Lee in the first season and how you can play as Clementine here.
Right.
Where for me, when playing as Lee, I didn't spare Clementine the truth. I was always blunt with her. Like when she asked, if my parents are still alive, I just told them no, they're probably dead. You need to move on. Like to be as like blunt and harsh with her as possible to like prepare her for this like really cold, messed up world. And then to see that, like me playing that way with Clementine as well, it creates this very like organic character development where I see it through seeing Clementine through Lee's eyes, and now I'm seeing the world through Clementine herself, and seeing someone like Sarah that could potentially be like if my Lee reacted like the exact opposite with raising me. So like that frustration for me like comes through in that like I see somewhat like something of a different version of Clementine in Sarah, but just the things that have happened, the things that Clementine has gone through, it's like I know what the world is really like, and seeing Sarah like this just makes it really frustrating for me. Just seeing through the world through the eyes of not like Clementine but Lee now.
So now after this Sarah stuff, and it's a pretty short part of the episode, but interesting part of the episode. So now Carver comes in, and first of all, Michael Madsen, come on. I love Michael Madsen.
He fucking kills it.
It's amazing that they got him to do this. I kind of wish that I hate the Walking Dead TV series, and I feel like the narrative in this Telltale stuff is so much stronger. I wish they would just like translate this into a TV series and actually cast Michael Madsen.
I think like when the popularity, especially with like Negan coming out and hearing like, because like some of my old coworkers are big Walking Dead fans. I hear like this new like this like obsession with Negan and how like brutal he is and how horrible he is. And I'm kind of like yeah, I've seen this before done better. Like years ago with Telltale with Carver, where like Negan to me is just kind of like this. He's just a guy. Like I like what's the actor's name? I like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I like him, but I just think this character is just pure brutality, and I don't really like gravitate well towards that. Mm-hmm. I think Carver, like as brutal and violent as Carver can be, I think there is actually something of substance in him, where his character is really interesting, really intimidating, in much more than just like brute force, where he actually can feel like this like psychologically manipulative individual. And like even so, like you can actually it's somebody that you can actually kind of admire to an extent, because to me he reminds me a lot of the Roland character in 400 Days, except a lot better, where Roland is trying to create this society to survive against the zombies. And I feel like he and Carver are kind of cut from the same cloth. But whereas Roland is very, to me, just feels kind of like a lesser version of Carver, where Carver is like really like iron-willed and willing to go to the extremes to protect not only himself but his people, I guess. And he's just a fascinating character to me, particularly his interactions with Clementine, where depending on how you play it and how you view Clementine, you actually can see like a lot of similarities between the two, and it's really it's interesting, but it's really unsettling at the same time.
Sure. Yeah, and I think the introduction is great. That whole sequence is so tense.
Yeah. When
he's just kind of walking around the house and you don't know how to really react or what to do about it. It's a little frustrating. I feel like it's a little bit contrived, because why is that door unlocked in the first place? That's kind of a stupid like contrivance for the plot, but it's not a huge deal. I think it seems like they could have easily fixed that by just having him come in the back door that they just left through, and like that would make more sense. Like, okay, she just didn't think to lock it. I could buy that. Not leaving a front door locked in the zombie apocalypse seems just stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway, small point. But I think Michael Madsen's voice acting is great. The way that sequence is written, where you don't really know how to feel about him. He doesn't know how to feel about you, and he's just kind of roaming this house, kind of just violating your safe sanctuary.
Yeah.
It's a great scene.
It's very it's really interesting too. It's kind of like your first test into how you'll play Clementine in this episode, because you can be someone who's very like submissive and just kind of stand there like just kind of like clicking your feet together and going like, guess I'll just let this guy walk all over me. Or you can be like, no, fuck this guy, get out of my house, get the fuck out of here, don't bother me anymore. Just be sarcastic and just stare at him just blankly the whole time. And I obviously that's what I did, but
or you can play it in the middle ground, which is what I did, where you just don't tell him anything, but you also, for me, like I realize, as much as I want to just kill this guy immediately, there's not really any means for me to do that right now. So like I'm not gonna risk inflaming this situation where I'll just not give him anything and then just wait for him to just leave.
Which leave he eventually does, but it's kind of like, even when he leaves, the thing I like the most about them, that he has just such this like big, large presence to him, that even when he left, I still didn't feel out of danger. I still felt like this guy, like even if you get him to like not reveal, like even if you don't reveal anything to him, even if you play it completely like hard ass, you still feel like you've lost, kind of like this chess match between the two of you.
Yeah.
Which leads us into probably like easily my favorite moment out of this whole episode, which is how you deal with both the Walter and Matthew situation, which I think, to me, like that is one of the most interesting arcs in this entire, not only just like this whole series, but just Telltale has done. I think this might be like maybe their best, arguably, like in terms of how you can play it, the options that are available in front of you, the writing with these characters, how everything is just shot so well with so much like, just the air is just thick with tension and dread. And no zombies until like the later part. It's great.
Yes, and that is actually one thing I want to mention. We talked a lot in the last episode about visual atmosphere and how well that does or doesn't work here. I think that is really made effective in this episode in a way that it wasn't in the last episode for me. I think getting out into the open space really helps bring it some visual character. When you have those, like, you have this sort of gray sky overhead about to break into storm, and you can see like for miles across these rolling sort of smoky mountain areas. Like I think that really gives this episode a visual flavor and character that is lacking in a lot of the rest of the series for me. I think just having that height and having that that perspective on the world and just being alone and isolated really adds something special to this episode. And moving on from that, so yes, starting with the Matthew thing. So the bridge sequence first, of course. That sequence is maybe the most like upsetting sequence for me in this entire series. Just because they do a really good job of writing Matthew in such a way that you instantly sort of feel this bond with him, and you feel like you can trust him, and you feel like he's a good person, and you feel maybe a little bit of relief and like something good might be happening, and then fucking Nick shoots him in the neck and kills him. You have to listen to him gurgle before he dies.
Brutal. Oh my god.
And this is my single biggest complaint about the episode, is that I didn't feel like I had enough agency to deal with Nick. Because if I had my way, if I could play this exactly how I wanted, the second he did that, I wanted to turn around and shoot him in the head and kill him right there. And I would do that every time. Like I'm still upset I wasn't given that choice, because I feel like what he did is completely inexcusable, and that's it. There's no coming back from that to me.
Sure. I understand, but I still feel like I understand. We've talked about this so many times, where like we wish there were more choices here, but I think the absence at this point in time, I was like, especially when they set it up for later, what can potentially happen. To me, it didn't really bother me all that much.
But I feel like it's another situation where they want it to play out in a certain way, so they don't let you choose another way. Yeah. I get that all that stuff with Walt at the end is interesting and tense and dramatic, but still, that like I feel like that shouldn't be the only choice there. And even when you do get to do that Walt Matthew stuff toward the end, it's not really like you have much agency in the way that plays out. I didn't feel like I just kind of happened the way it happened, and I felt like I wanted to tell them right away, and the game never gave me that opportunity, and it was very frustrating for me that like I just felt in a way that happens a lot in these games where I just want to do something that the game does not give you the choice to do. It's not egregious like it is sometimes in other episodes, and I think it's helped because the way it plays out is dramatic and interesting, but still, I feel like that shouldn't be the only way it can play out.
And I agree, and I understand where you're coming from. It's just one of those situations where to me, it's not as egregious as something like dragging Ben along for like 3 episodes in the first season.
Right. Well, okay. Now, that is something I noticed. At the end of the episode, there was like a decision where it's saying like the Walt and Matthew thing can play out differently. And I know I know Nick can live. So what does that look like? Do you remember how that happens where Nick doesn't get killed?
Walter shoots the zombie that's trying to kill Nick.
So what makes Walter shoot the zombie? Because Walter just doesn't do anything in mine.
It's when Walter asks Clementine if you think Nick is a good person, and you can tell him like no, he's just like everyone else, or
which is what I did.
Yeah, or you can tell him no, he's a good person, and if he will shoot the zombie if you tell him Nick is a good person. He'll let Nick die if you tell him he's just like everybody else.
And I'm glad that he let him die because he should have killed him sooner.
Yeah.
And actually, that was something that was interesting too because right when you first meet Kenny, that he asks like, "Can you vouch for these people?" And this time I was like, I can't vouch for all of them because Nick is in this group and I don't trust Nick within an inch of my life.
Yeah.
So yeah. And that's actually okay. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like jump ahead. Like, is there anything else you want to talk about with the whole Matthew thing?
I guess my favorite shot, like one of my favorite shots in this entire series, is that moment when Clementine walks outside and there's like the thunder and the rain, and all you see like is just a shot of Clementine in the background, and then in the foreground it's Walter holding the knife, and it's like, oh shit, like it's. Yep. Like it's so simple and yet done so well, just with how like Walter is just kind of looking at it. He has this like look on his face, like he knows exactly what happened, and it's creepy because like any normal like the default human reaction to finding out that your loved one is dead would just be kind of like shock and horror, but just the way he's like so contemplative and calm about holding that knife. To me was so just disturbing. Not like
I don't agree with that at all.
Not like I found him disturbing. Just the fact that like the first time I played it, I was so unsure of how I was going to handle this.
Yeah, I wasn't at all. Like, I think the way he was reacting to it is perfectly in line with Walter, and I think it's also really heartbreaking because this is a guy that they set up as this total optimist who cares about people and believes people are still good and that we have to help everybody despite everything that's happening.
Yeah.
And within a matter of minutes, we witness the destruction of his soul. Like, all of the hope just leaves him.
Yeah.
And that's why that scene is that like it's not creepy or disturbing or unsettling to me. It's more just sad, and I just feel awful for Walt, and I feel like upset that I wasn't allowed to tell him sooner. And I just like as he's doing it, like I don't feel afraid of him or what he's going to do because knowing him and what he's going through, I know he's not going to do anything to me. I'm hoping he might do something to Nick and that does not make me feel scared at all. And like I think it's smart that he doesn't do anything to Nick in that moment, and it, again, also feels in line with his character. And then it feels even worse that soon after he just gets shot in the head by Carver, and that's just it for him. And it's like it's not only you're witnessing like the death of his optimism and in that moment, but like you're also kind of witnessing
like literally
your hope,
yeah.
Because like I mean not his death, but like the death of like the positive outcome of this situation, because you're feeling there's a lot of warmth going on for a while there and hope, and then all of a sudden like the symbol of optimism is ripped away and just shot in the head by Carver, and you're just left back in this bullshit again.
Well, it's like the thing I like about this episode too, with the, because I think I'd be really annoyed with the Christmas decorating shit.
Oh, I love
but
that stuff.
I like it because it is still really, it just like, some shit's gonna go down. It's the same thing I said about like the first episode, like where it's like, even with like when you're exploring the camp with the dog, it's like I don't feel comfortable because I know something is going to happen. And that's the same thing with how just like how bright and cheerful everything is in that brief fleeting moment, and I just know that this is all going to go downhill really fast, just with this, the history of this series. And just how
I think for
like,
me,
Carver's out there and stuff like that. It's like nothing good can come of this.
Well, I think for me, it's not so much about, like, again, the fact that something bad is going to happen and it makes it feel tense. I didn't feel like it was tense. I think it was just they did a good job of contrasting the hope with the hopelessness. Because, in that moment where you have all these, like, Christmas atmosphere and everything happening, to have that ripped away by Carver just coming in and just shooting someone in the head and breaking fingers and destroying everything, like, again, you're kind of witnessing the transformation from positivity to negativity that begins when Walt sort of realizes that Matthew has been killed, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse, and things get less and less warm as it goes. And I think it's just good atmospheric storytelling, I think. And and then also the big reveal in this is Kenny, of course, coming back.
Yeah.
Which is great, and I love, and definitely, like, I think like it gives you that little pang of joy, like when he comes through. At least for me, like, you feel I kind of forgot that he was going to be there. And then it's very exciting when you see him again.
I was actually, like, even before I'd played this for the first time, I knew that was going to be Kenny. Like, not that it was, like, spoiled or anything for me by anybody else, but they said, like, a long time ago, before the first episode even came out, that, like, the fate of Kenny would be explained. So, and then when it, like, teases the I thought you were dead at the end of the first episode, I was like, I know that's going to be Kenny.
By the way, fate of Kenny is not really explained.
No.
They're just like, oh, I got out somehow.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I got away. I was on my own for a little bit. It's all right. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is forever, like, ruined the sadness I felt at the end of the first episode, or the last episode, where it's like, oh, he dies, he sacrifices himself for me, or for Ben, God forbid.
I think for me, the most interesting dynamic that sort of happened in this episode was when the groups start to intermingle, and it kind of revealed for me how I feel about the new group, because this time I basically realized, like, I don't like these people, and I don't want to stay with them, and I don't trust them. And, like, whenever I was given an opportunity to side with Kenny, or to ask whether I trusted them in any capacity, I always sided with Kenny and said no. And it's weird because I don't remember that happening the first time I played it. I was a little more down the middle, but I just didn't feel that connection with this group. And I think Kenny coming back is a brilliant way to bring that to the forefront, because that could just feel sort of like pandering to, like, people who played the first series. It could feel just like empty nostalgia, but it doesn't. And I think the familiarity of Kenny is so important, because it makes you realize that your loyalty to this new group does not really feel very, forged in fire yet. And, like, when Kenny comes back, for me, instantly I was like, okay, this is somebody I actually do trust more and would be more comfortable being with. And now I don't really know if I want to be with this new group, and I don't know if I'm going to trust them. And it makes you sort of suspicious of everyone in an interesting way. And I think a lot of it has to do with being so familiar with Kenny.
I'm still somebody that plays it really in the middle, where I do trust Kenny. I still have that connection to him from the previous series, but I definitely like this group a lot more than you do. Particularly like Luke and
I like Luke. I think Luke is, like, the only one. Like, I trust Luke. He seems like a good person, and I would trust him. And I have said so when, like, Kenny asked me. But I think Nick, obviously, I hate and just wanted him to die the whole time. Rebecca, I don't like at all. I think I mean, for obvious reasons.
Sure.
And Carlos, I don't really trust. I don't agree with the way he does things, and I don't think his sort of sheltering, standoffish approach is helpful at all. And yeah, I mean, and what's his name?
Oh, Albert.
Alvin.
Oh, Alvin. That's right.
Yeah, like I think he's just kind of milquetoast. And the second he requests to not tell the group about the food, I'm like, well, can't trust you. So like I like everybody in this group. I don't know. I think Sarah is the only one I like, and Sarah and Luke are the only ones I like and feel like I could trust. And Sarah, I mean, is kind of compromised because of her fucking terrible dad.
Yeah. I don't know. I still like Carlos despite the whole thing, the bullshit he pulls with Sarah. I kind of like Rebecca, kind of, sort of.
But I mean, even it's not just Sarah. It's like even when you first encounter him and you're bit by the dog and he doesn't help you, it's like, dude, you're a fucking doctor. You should know better than this. You're gonna just leave me outside all night? Like that's like no. I do not like Carlos at all.
I don't know. I like Carlos. I kind of like Rebecca. I like Alvin. I don't know. I don't really have a reason besides like the opening episode to like dislike her. To like when she came back, she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry for being a bitch." I'm kind of like,
she's also lying to Alvin the whole time about the baby.
Yeah, yeah.
She just seems like a terrible person, and I'm like Alvin is just Alvin is untrustworthy. She's a shitty person. Carlos is terrible in this situation. Nick is completely untrustworthy and a murderer. So it's like I don't like this group at all. I don't trust almost any of them. And like when contrasted with Kenny, who you know already, and Sarita, who's instantly she's like a nice, caring person, and Walter, who also is instantly a nice, caring person. Yeah. Like I think the way they characterize that new group as being so warm and trusting and caring about others is again important to making you really question your allegiances to this new group, which will play out I think in more interesting ways too as the rest of the series goes on.
Well, it does, because I think you bring up an interesting point where it's like you don't like this group, and yet I think I sometimes somewhat think that might intentionally be done by Telltale, because it is setting up the eventual destruction of this group. Right. Where it's more of like you can choose between like whether you want to stick with like old ties to this new group to Kenny, or stay with somebody from this new group, and it's like it's gonna give you that choice in the end. So it's kind of like if you don't like them, it's like sure, you don't have to stick with them. You can go off with Kenny and do your own thing. And
it's also sort of interesting in that this is something we haven't seen in the game before, where you feel like you can't really trust your group, and you don't really have a bond with most of them. Like I think part of it may just be that in the first game it's the only group you know, and even though there are some bad apples in that group for sure, like it's just they're your only support system. Now the game is sort of giving you a choice, where it's giving you two options and making you question who you really do want to stay allied with. And I think that creates a very interesting dynamic tension between everyone, at least for me, because it made me realize for the first time that like maybe being with this group is not the best thing for me.
I hated Bonnie too. I hate Bonnie with a passion throughout this whole series.
Is she the one in Carver's group?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like, she's fucking terrible. Yeah, like, she should have been killed instantly.
Yeah, liar. She's horrible.
And to be fair, again, I don't remember what's going to happen after this, so I don't remember how the relationship with her is going to play out.
I won't spoil it, but I remember you messaging me and being like, "Fuck this bitch." I was like,
I'm not sure I used that specific wording, but
yeah. You might as well have said that. But I don't like her at all. And I think that's interesting, bringing characters in that you can choose to trust or distrust, or like even in general you can just like them or not like them. Like it's not like, because in like the first series they do try to sell you on, like really push hard how much of a potentially nice person what the hell is her name, Carly, or whatever the other guy's name was that can potentially die in the first episode, and then people like Kenny and Katya. Like, it really pushes you to try to like form a bond with these people, which is effective, and you do. But I kind of do prefer this more conflicting sense of loyalty between, like, it's up to you, who do you want to trust in this series. And I like that. I think that's, to me, that's more interesting, particularly with the lengths that they take it in future episodes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so, I mean, wow, I feel like, wow, is that everything? Did we talk about everything that happens already?
It's a very quick episode, which is what I really like about it. Like, it's just, it's no bullshit. It's just, aside from maybe like one or two places where I felt like they could have cut back a little bit, it's really just, because like the good stuff is like, there's like three key, like, huge good things in this episode, just like big, all stretched out, and it's great pacing, great beginning, great setup, just everything about this episode, just great.
And another reason to hate Rebecca is that she doesn't want to give herself up when he's like killing people. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Go down there, you selfish piece of shit. This is ridiculous. Like, I hated everything she did.
I don't know. I still, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I'm still kind of like, I'd take her over somebody like, what is her name in the first series?
Oh, Larry's daughter?
Yes, whatever.
Well, yeah.
I take her over
I mean, I don't like
Lily.
either.
Yeah, I'd take her over Lily. I'd take her over Larry. I'd take her over Ben. Definitely Ben. I'd even take her over the old man from the first series. I forget his name. The guy in Crawford, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah.
Why the hell am I not remembering these names?
Nobody remembers names.
Because I've played it like 5 billion times and I can't remember their fucking names.
Nobody remembers names. Doesn't matter.
I'm usually very good at it, and I can't for the life of me remember these people. Which might be saying something about the writing in that series, but we have 5 episodes to cover that, so. But if that's everything, I can't really think of anything else. Like, no bugs, no bad glitches on my end. Everything ran really well. Oh, so you had a glitch where you couldn't import your save.
Yes. Okay, yeah. The first
about
episode, yes, I was not able to import my save from the first season, which is ridiculous. Like, I played both of them on disc, on PS4, same system. Nothing. It just could not find any save. Ridiculous. Like, that was extremely frustrating. Thankfully, I got lucky, and the first time it just happened to choose like all my choices automatically.
Yeah, you did the random generator. Like,
right.
I did that with when I played it on PS4 for the first time without, because my old save was on the PS3 for season 1. And I was like, okay, I hope they have some kind of option where you can choose what you did. They don't. You just have to randomly hope that they'll pick it for you. And I must have gone through that like 5 times before I was happy with my choices. So,
well, I got lucky, I guess.
Yeah.
I really hope the same thing doesn't happen when I get the 3rd season, because that would be infuriating.
Even if it fucks up with your save, you can still import the choices from like this like questionnaire that you can do. It's like a really quick questionnaire.
And I know they've said for the future they're going to start doing it, which I've always wanted them to do, through your Telltale account, so it's not dependent on, your system save.
Yeah,
which is good, because that means you can move between consoles if you want for seasons.
It's something they should have done a long time ago.
Yes,
but it's better late than never, I guess.
So are we on the rankings now?
Sure.
All right. I guess I can go first with this time.
Okay.
So my ranking did change.
Okay.
So top 5 now. Number 5 is New World Order, third episode of Batman. Number 4 is Starved for Help, 2nd episode of Walking Dead season 1. 3rd is Children of Arkham, 2nd episode of Batman. Number 2 is No Time Left, the season finale of season 1, and my new number 1 is this episode.
Oh. All right, so my number
beat out Lee's emotional, crazy shit at the end of the first season.
My number 5 is Long Road Ahead, from Walking Dead season 1. Number 4 is Starved for Help. Number 3 is No Time Left, which is the season 1 finale. Number 2 is All That Remains, the season 2 premiere. And like you, my new number 1 is this episode.
I can't believe you put the season 2 premiere over the season 1 finale.
Well, because I thought about it more.
That's
and
crazy.
For me, I think everything that happens in All That Remains is more interesting than No Time Left. I think it just moves along at a better pace than No Time Left does. And I love No Time Left, but for me,
I still as we heard in the episode, I don't hate All That Remains anymore, but it's still a pretty rough episode comparatively, I think.
I don't agree. I still think it's like one of their very best episodes. So
yeah, no, thank you.
I'll take all the stitching and the sneaking around all the time. I'll take that over.
For me, the less gameplay in one of these episodes, the better. Like, I just want decisions. I don't want to play. I still feel like that's the weakest episode of any Telltale game, aside from some of the frustrating decision funneling that happens.
I don't agree at all. I mean, I knew this was coming eventually, but I'm still just like, wow, I don't get it. I just think this episode is great.
Yeah, no, and it's just in general, I just don't like the scenes where you're not talking in Telltale games. I don't like when I have to walk around and find stuff. Like, it just feels tedious to me, and that has never changed.
I think they
with very rare exceptions. I think the only series that maybe kind of starts pushing towards something a little more experiential with the gameplay is Tales from the Borderlands, which I think has some pretty decent gameplay sequences. And I think Minecraft kind of gets there sometimes as well. But most of the time I'm just like, you know what? I would be okay with these just being cutscenes, honestly.
I think Tales from the Borderlands does it the best because you can scan things and it will give you little tidbits and it has a sense of humor to it as well.
That not so much that stuff for me. It's more like the action stuff in that game. It feels a little more like an action game than most of their stuff.
Sure.
So some of the shooting and chasing, whatever, I feel like there's a little more dynamic punch to that. But most of the time you're just kind of walking around and shuffling around and looking for stuff and opening things, and it's like, okay, that's enough. Which is one of the reasons I never even finished the first season of Life is Strange, because there's so much tedious bullshit to wade through in that game.
See, it's been a while since I've played Life is Strange, but I liked Life is Strange quite a bit.
I wanted to, but I really did not. I was so not interested. But I played 2.5 episodes, I think, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
It does play more like a traditional point and click game than more like the streamlined approach of more modern Telltale. But I still think, despite its problems, it has some big fucking problems. I still think it's pretty compelling.
I think it's just badly written. I don't care about the characters. I don't care about what's happening. I don't care about what I'm deciding. The gameplay is awful, and I was not a fan.
I think I more liked it just for its because I think future episodes get really stupid, but I think the opening ones I really really liked, particularly when you're just hanging around in this autumn forest summer autumn forest summer in atmosphere.
When it's
I love it.
When the dialogue is sub Juno, I mean, that's not working for me.
I think everyone aside from mostly Max, sometimes Chloe, it's written so badly, but
yeah,
and
it just has this awful teen indie movie aesthetic with this low acoustic guitar strumming all the time.
I love that. I don't usually like that sort of shit, but I loved that in how they did that in Life is Strange. I love the soundtrack. I love the whole school tweeny bopper vibe kind of thing it's got. I really liked it for the first couple of episodes, and then when it starts getting into the time travel shit, that's when I'm like, okay, you're starting to lose me.
Starting.
When it gets to
Yeah,
the
no.
serial killer shit, then it's like, oh, okay. All right.
Oh god, yeah, I'm never gonna revisit that. I have the fucking like whole season on my PS4, and I'm just never gonna go
Damn.
back.
Ugh.
Anyway, well, I guess there ends our Life is Strange podcast for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I like Life is Strange. It's a lot better than King's Quest, which King's Quest is just pure puzzles. And that fucking
Ugh.
bored me to death.
Can we just, I think like puzzles just need to die. Like no more puzzles in games ever. Like I never want to play another fucking puzzle again.
I'd agree in most cases, but
Unless it's
some-
explicitly just a puzzle game and that's what you're buying it for,
Yeah.
cool. But like everything else, no. Like I don't want to play a fucking puzzle.
I think like sometimes in Telltale there are some really good puzzles. I think even Life is Strange has like one or two that I really like, and even King's Quest which I don't like still has some that are interesting. It's just, to me, puzzles just feel like filler. Like just
They're work.
Yeah.
They're just work.
They're-
Like it's not fun. And like unless like you're playing a game again, like a game specifically for puzzles that's built around that that might have like interesting puzzles and that's what you're looking for. Cool. But like little tiny like sort of side quest puzzles on your way to things and to like progress through the narrative, fuck that. It is such a chore.
I
can't
think
even
it can
tell
be
you-
done well.
I think it can be, but I'm not sure I've ever seen it done well. Like, I can't even tell you how many fucking times with the amount of times I've played Mass Effect 2, God knows how many times I've played those little, like, locked object puzzles that you have to do to, like, hack into things and whatever.
Jesus Christ.
I must have played, like, thousands of those by now. And it's just, like, at least mercifully those are very short and easy, but still, it's kind of like, do we really need this? Like, give me at least, like, the ability to, you know, have a cheat code or buy something that can allow me to bypass this if I want to.
Yeah. We can only dream. Hopefully. Alrighty. Jordan, where can people find your work?
Oh, shit. My work. Well, my tweeting work is on Twitter at @5th_opinion. I also have other podcast work on the podcast Fifth Opinion on iTunes. And I also have some written work, which I don't think I've ever plugged before, which is on filmcolossus.com. Not many, but a few.
They're very good.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
And you can find me YouTube at Razorblade Mango and sometimes on Twitter at Razorblade Mango. Same thing. But and then we also have a Twitter ourselves. It's at a Telltale Pod, capital A, capital T, capital P. And
Which doesn't matter.
yeah. Thankfully Twitter isn't so stingy about that. But all right. So next week, well, not next week, but the next time we meet, we will be covering Walking Dead season 3. I mean, god damn it, season 2, episode 3. The one where Carver just loses his shit, and I couldn't be happier. I fucking love it.
Can I spoil this now?
Go ahead.
Maybe my favorite Telltale episode of all time.
Mine too. That's my favorite. Like I remember the first time I played it, and I was just so overwhelmed by how good it was.
This is the episode where I think this is Telltale's most psychologically interesting episode, and I'm so excited to talk about it. And I talk about this to anybody who will listen about Telltale and why I think they're interesting. So be prepared for that.
Yeah. Alrighty. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.